Raised Like That was about your foundation stories, I think. Where You'll Find Me is about your values. This is my impression. Loyalty, love, dedication to family, appreciation of friends, hard work, and very much not taking anything for granted. I'm wondering if you had a concept for it when you started working on it.
I actually love that that's been your take on the album, because I think that is actually not where my head has been when I've been answering this question anywhere else. But I think you're actually dead right. I think that is exactly what it is. It's about values, because I think values can be the simple thing as just appreciating a beer with your mate, or sitting around a campfire, but then the other side of it is the deeper sense of, like, you know, belonging or figuring life out and all that sort of stuff. So I love that. So when I didn't come up with a really clear concept when I was writing this album. I tend to just write whatever's coming out and what feels honest. And then take a bunch of songs and go, okay, what does this chaos mean? you know? Interestingly enough, it was a different process to Raised Like That. There was something that happened in Raised Like That where, because the first song became such a big song, it kind of became the North Star for that entire record. I always kind of knew that Raised Like That would be the name of the album, even, you know, it was 3 years in the making. But your second album is a little bit trickier, because you go, okay, I've said this, now where do I go? But you know, I'm really proud of what this album is, and I think it shows a little bit of a different side to me, and just my understanding of the way that I am and the way I feel about life and friends and family and everything like that.
Yeah, because I remember when I heard Raised Like That for the first time, thinking, and I think I might have said it to you at the time, it was almost like you buried the lead, in that the singles had portrayed a particular idea of you, and then there was a lot of dark on that album, actually, and I think it was mainly about rural life.
Yeah.
And so coming into this album, obviously you're having different experiences. It was because, I was listening to it, I just thought that the light and shade is still there. So I think that's very much about you as a songwriter wanting to acknowledge the breadth of human experience.
Yeah.
But perhaps feeling more settled, but maybe more integrated in what's going on.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was, you know, as you said, there's definitely still light and shade where, you know, What I Know Now, as an example, one of the songs. I'm really proud of that song, and it's just, it talks about the ebbs and flows of life. It's the moments that in the moment seem like a negative moment.
Yeah.
But without those, they shape you to be the person that you are today. And it wraps up at the end of that song just being like, you know, I wouldn't change a thing, because although the ups and downs made me who I am today, and I'm still on this journey, I'm still figuring it out. And I don't have it all figured out, but that is just life, right? So I think you're right. I think there is still light and shade on the album, but it comes from a different place to where Raised Like That came from.
Yeah, that song, What I Know Now, it took me a few listens to it to work out what the first story was saying, because that sounds like it was something that was super serious. Like, you wish they'd gone slower.
Yeah.
And so there are little vignettes in that song alone, which actually I think add up to a total picture of you. So since you've raised that song, I'm interested in how you chose what would go in it. Like, what were the moments that you thought, I wish I knew that then? Yeah,
well, funnily enough, and it's one thing about music that's great is that there's, especially with an album, there is songs that I want to not, it doesn't just reveal itself straight up. You know, there is certain songs on that album that absolutely do that. You don't, like, you've listened to it once, you can sing it the next time. That's the intention, right? But there's also songs that I want them to be more thought about. That's exactly one of those things. It's, the first line is, you know, 17 out raising hell, one too many with the pedal down. It's like, it was talking about mates that, you know, lost his life to out drinking, being an idiot at 17, you know, on a back road. And it's like, that's a pretty heavy thing.
Yep.
But it's, you know, and I wish, and it says, I wish I'd told my friend to slow it down if I knew then what I know now. And it just kind of goes, you know, if I knew everything that was going to come after that moment, I wish I would, you know, I wish I could have changed that. But you can't change it, you know.
No, but as I said, it took me a few listens, because I was listening to it going, oh yeah, and then I thought, wait a second, what is he actually saying there? I actually think there are two songs that are like the tent poles of the album, and that is Back in the Day and Who Do You Want to Be? Because I think the first is about values. It's not about how life was better before mobile phones. It's actually about valuing human connection and also appreciating the simple things. I think Who Do You Want to Be comes from that place of values that then challenges the listener to go after things in life. So it's about looking forward. And so I quite liked that idea that back in the day was, okay, let's take these values or this way of life that's actually important and about honouring other people, and then I think moving it into looking ahead and basically saying you build your foundation on that. Or maybe I'm overthinking it.
No, I think it's right. I said it's like in Who Do You Want to Be? Just one day when you're older, when all that's left is your story to tell. Who do you want to be? You know, when you look in the mirror, tell me what do you see now? Who do you want to be? That whole idea is taking all those lessons but going, I have, you know, life gets in the way. You know, it starts off by being, 40 hours get in the way and all the things. They kind of pushes to be, all right, now you got to go and, conform a little bit. But we still get to decide, we still get to make our own decisions. It might be difficult. It's not easy, and life will force you to not sometimes necessarily take the path that you want to take. But you still get to decide, it's the, I don't know, it's funnily enough, there's a few things that led to that song. I was reading a book during that time, and it was called The Happiest Man on Earth.
Oh yeah, Eddie Jacku, I think.
That's it. Yeah. And at the core of that, and it's, if you know the story, it's a man that went through the Holocaust and everything like that. But the thing about it that he kind of always said was like everything that happened to him, as terrible, as dark, the worst moment in human history, was external. He still got to decide internally who he was and the person that he wanted to be. And I just thought, what incredible! It's an incredibly powerful book, and an incredibly powerful message. But at the end of it, when it's all said and done, we still get to decide.
Yeah, and I really like in the vocal for that, it sounds like you're not letting the listener off the hook. It's actually not this, it's not like a Whales and Moonbeam sort of, who do you want to be? It's actually like, who do you want, make a decision. There are no platitudes in it. So I'm interested when you recorded the vocal, if you were feeling a particular kind of way about...
Yeah, it was. Absolutely. I think that it makes a question. It's like, tell me, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And I find songs like that, I struggle with songs like that sometimes because I never want it to be preachy because I haven't got it figured out. And I wrote this song looking at myself during a moment when I was feeling lost, going, well, who do you want to be? And I always conscious that I don't want it to come across as like, hey, I've got it all figured out. Like, you just got to go and do the thing and you got to figure your thing out. It's like, no, not at all. Like, I wrote that from a place of like asking myself a question. Well, you get to make this decision. Who do you want to be? Stop whining or whinging about these things going wrong. It's like, you get to make that decision. Like, it might be difficult and it is difficult, but you still get to make that decision.
Yeah, I think it's a good motivational song, but perhaps not in the way listeners will anticipate, if that makes sense. Because of the way you've sung it, which I particularly like. Now, there is a song I saw you play recently in Sydney, Can I Keep Talking to You? It was at your set at night at the Barracks. You played keys. It was a really amazing moment. I'm wondering if you could tell us the story behind that. I heard it, but it'd be good for other people to know. Yeah,
so Can I Keep Talking to You was written after the passing of my grandma, and I was watching my grandfather, who's he's great at putting on the facade of it all together. He's been a showman his whole life. No, and not in the sense of like he's not a singer or anything like that. But he's just always been in front of a mic, and he's just been the sort of person that if there's a room of people, he'll somewhat want to take charge. He's like Ian Johnston's in the room, and he's big, loudspeaker. And he did a similar thing to that at the funeral. He did the speech and he ticked that box and it was said the right things and all the rest of it. But I know my grandfather. And I know behind that facade was a man that was absolutely heartbroken. And of course, he spent 60 years of his life with a woman that he absolutely adored. And to the day she died, she was the best thing that ever happened to him. Knowing that he was going to go back to a house by himself and she wasn't going to be there. But he said something to me that night. He said, it's okay. I know she's not here, but she's still with me because I still talk to her every single day. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that was the spark for the song, right? That's where it came from. And I just thought, that was just a beautiful thing because that was the experience with him and my grandma. But I think that's something that a lot of us do when we lose somebody. We still have a conversation. It might be an internal conversation. But we're doing something and I wish you were here to see this or something like that, And I think there is something really powerful in that idea that even though somebody's not here with you, they are still a part of you, and my grandma is a part of me, a massive part of me, she helped raise me as a kid. There's all these beautiful stories, all these memories, and that's what the song is about. It's about just that day sitting there and going, you know, he kind of just got himself together and he shook hands and he said goodbye to everybody. He sat there and then he just looked up at the wall and there was a photo of her and he just started having a conversation with her. Right. And he said something to me the other day, actually, that I thought was a beautiful thing. He said, I used to get sad when I used to think about Grandma. He said, now I get happy because he said, I don't think about that 2 weeks of, you know, the decline when it all kind of hit. He says, I think about the 60 years that I had a beautiful, happy marriage. He said, every time I think about it now, I just get happy. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Makes me get emotional.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. And there's actually a line I sometimes quote about grief. There's a writer called Ruth Park. She's been dead for a while now, but she was quite famous in her time. And she had a husband who was a writer, Darcy Nyland. Mm-hmm. He died quite young. She was in her 40s. Mm-hmm. She never remarried. And she was asked when she was older why she hadn't. And she said, why should I stop loving him just because he's in another country? Yeah. And I thought that was a great way to express it.
It's beautiful.
It's like,
yeah, I love that.
your grandfather's thinking your grandmother's just in another country.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a visa for that country.
No, that's it, yeah.
But he can call her, maybe, I think. I'm looking at my questions here, James. This is the thing about doing the in-person interview. I don't get to look to the side from my iPad. I've got it in my lap. So part of what I think is so interesting about your songs is that you take a core idea and then you find a way to build it so that we not only get a story but a really distinct felt sense of what you're saying. So it's just sort of listening to the way you structure your songs. Like, I think it starts with an idea and then you build it out from there. So I'm wondering, as a songwriter, if you go through an editing process almost. So you sort of start to layer it on and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to bring it back in to some sort of shape, or are all songs different to each other?
Yeah, I think all songs are different to each other. It's funny how people ask me, what's your process? And I said, depends, like, today or tomorrow, like, a little bit, you know, because it changes all the time, and the way that I craft a song changes. You know, I some days, like, you know, it's chasing an emotion, and that emotion might just be like, it might be joy, it might be something else. Some days it's just chasing a story and trying to make you feel something. I don't know. It's a hard question to answer because it changes all the time. And
I like the fact at the start you said, trying to make an album out of this mess of songs that you had, which implies that you had no sense of structure or whatever. But I would imagine that when you're writing the songs, you're starting to get a sense of it might be on the album or maybe not. Maybe it is.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, so I wrote probably 15 of the songs or 14, something like that. And I listened, I had the album there sitting there. And I was like, it's missing, funnily enough, it was actually missing the joy.
Oh, okay.
And because I listened to the record, and I personally love music that makes me feel good, right? And I like, there's every once in a while, there's songs I love that are introspective songs. Like, there's a couple of those on the record, don't get me wrong. But most of it, I do like listening to music that it's like, it makes me feel joy, right?
Yeah.
And I actually went to Nashville with that one thing. I wrote on the top of everything, put joy on the top. Okay. I was like, I want to write some feel-good songs, and I want to, like, still tell stories, everything like that, but I still want it to, like, when you put that record on, you're like, I don't know, it makes you feel good. It was important.
Yeah, there are quite a few songs like that. So obviously the trip to Nashville was successful.
The trip there, I think we got 5 new songs on the record because of the trip to Nashville, yeah.
Well, perhaps this is a related question because there are quite a few songs on the album about your wife.
Yes.
And I want Talia Rose, and I wanted to mention this because I get a distinct sense that you feel she is a big part of the reason why you can do what you can do.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, acknowledge the role that spouses can play.
Absolutely. No, and there could have been another 20 songs about my wife on that. Like, I love her, and she's, I'm just incredibly blessed that she is a part of my life and a part of this whole story. She holds it all together. She does. She's the rock, and I'm really thankful that I've got my wife and my 2 boys through this whole process. The music industry and this ride is a crazy ride, and it's ups and downs, and it's a pretty, I don't know, it's hard. It's not just hard in the sense of, like, workload, but there is always, you can always be busier. You can always do more. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to switch off. And I think having my foundation being my beautiful wife and my 2 boys, I really feel very blessed for that. And we get to, like, do it together. We get to be on this adventure together. We get to be on this journey together, and I love that.
Well, I'm sure she's having some good adventures as well, as are the kids by the look of your social
Absolutely.
media. So your producer for this was Jared Adlam, who is almost more in demand than you are, I have to say. Pretty much every second single album I hear about, Jared's produced. So I'm wondering if you recorded the album all at once, or did it go with your availability?
It was like a process. We've been working on this album for over a year, and Jared. The thing I love about Jared, right, and why I started working with Jared 2 years ago. We just did a song right together, and we just got along. And the best way I can describe the whole process was that we were so in line with what we were listening to and what we were fans of. So I would call him up and I'd be like, hey, bro, have you heard that new song that just came out? Like, he's like, man, I literally just sent the mix engineer. Like, to the point where there was one time, there was the new Cody Johnston with Carrie Underwood, right? And I liked the song. I loved the mix, right? Which is a weird, specific thing. And I literally called him up today. He's like, dude, have you heard the new mix on that, like, new Cody Johnston, Carrie Underwood song? And he's like, man, I literally just messaged the mix engineer on Instagram to say how much I love the mix. And like, we hadn't even shared that. And I was like, this is my guy, for the reason that how many other people were like messaging the mix engineer about that song that just came out. And we just meant that we were in line. You know, we were both fans of the same music. We were excited about the same thing. And it never felt like we weren't chasing just what was the best for the project, the best for the song. Yeah, like we didn't argue once, which was, and sometimes like there can be beauty in that. And I've worked with producers that we've butted heads the whole time, and then we've create something kind of cool. But it was a really fun process working with Jared.
Yeah, I think once you know to listen for a mix, it's hard to unhear it.
Yes.
But also possibly an occupational hazard that you can't just relax listening to a song.
That is one of the downsides of like being like a recording musician, is that you tend to analyze things. It's hard to just switch off and just enjoy music.
Yeah. Well, people can enjoy your music live because you have some shows coming up. You have festivals. You are heading to Hobart, Adelaide, Darwin and Canberra. And having seen you play live a few times now, I would say to anyone who's thinking of coming to see you play live, you're not a gig player, you are an entertainer. That's the way the James Johnston show goes. So I'm wondering if you feel like entertaining has always been a core part of who you are as an artist.
Absolutely. Massive part. I like, because I loved entertainers. You know, I love Garth Brooks. I love Michael Bublé, right? Like for his I love, you know, you look at like the way that Michael Jackson opened the halftime show with silence for like 2.5 minutes. What a cool thing to do. Like, what the power of an entertainer, the way you can hold a crowd and then like do one movement and the whole crowd goes wild. Like, I love that stuff. It excites me. And I said Garth, especially in country, was kind of my North Star. Right? Like, the guy used to like, you know, he'd just do one crazy song running up and down the aisles, and then all of a sudden the lights would go down and he would just be there with an acoustic guitar and like, you know, play The River or something like that. And the way that he could take people on this emotional journey. I think about that all the time when I'm doing my show. I want to take people on a journey. Same way with my record. So very much being an entertainer is a big part of what I do and what I want to be good at.
Well, I think you are very good at it, James. As I said, having seen you play live, the album is fantastic. People can go and see you live. I'm sure there will be more shows next year because that's the way it rolls.
Absolutely, yes.
Great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.